album. So we are getting ready. We're releasing the album called Hunter Be Hunted on Tuesday, actually. And we've
Okay.
been pushing our most recent single called Shaking Cages. Yeah, and it's been doing pretty well.
Okay, speaking of that song, how long did the video take?
We filmed it in 2 days. Yeah. So we got together with this guy that we heard about who had done some videos for a few of the other bands in our area, and we thought he had turned out some pretty high quality stuff, and so we thought we'd give him a try. We try and switch up our videographers pretty frequently just to try and make sure that we don't get like in the groove of doing the same video. Um, yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We actually did it in a shop, just kind of blacked it all out, and then he kind of worked his magic. So it was a lot of fun.
So I see that you're going to be on a few tours if they actually happen.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure about any like full length tours, but we definitely the Incarceration we'll be doing in September. That has recently been announced. We're really excited about that. Playing a Danny Wimmer show, and then we're actually doing like a big CD release party in June here. Back at home in Idaho, we're doing a live show for all our fans, just kind of as a thank you, because I mean, obviously we've had a fair amount of success that is due largely in part to people buying our music and showing up to shows. So
Yeah. I saw that you were on the Sound recently.
I believe so. Yeah, sounds right.
No, I just caught part of it. So from your first record to now, how do you see improvement?
I mean, I think across the board. I mean, one of the biggest changes, obviously, is our first record. We had a different singer, and it was the right singer for the music we were writing at the time. And then after that album and that tour, it just, we wanted to do different things, and so we parted ways. And we were kind of actually singerless for quite a while. Tried out a few different people, and then just came across Dakota by happenstance, really. And I think our lyrical content has gone through the roof. Whereas I'm proud of the songs that we wrote for Black Tie Affair. But Mitch is the drummer, and then I play rhythm guitar, do all the background singing. We wrote 100% of the lyrics for that first album, and I thought they were good. But I think Dakota can tell a story in a much better way than Mitch and I had done on that first album. And so
Okay.
he has really brought a lot to that aspect. But then musically, I think we've always been interested in incorporating a lot of different elements to our music. But like our first two records, we really like try to keep it simple and like keep it pretty just straight rock and roll. And so there's a little bit of stuff on Delusions. There's a little bit of synth and like piano and that kind of stuff. But we really, for this new album coming out, we really just kind of leaned into it. I mean, we really try and write songs that are solid by themselves, so that like we could play them without media if we wanted or needed to. But just adding in the strings and the piano and that kind of stuff, we really feel just kind of adds that ambiance and just kind of lifts the song up. So we've really been leaning that kind of direction.
Who was your biggest influence to get you started to play in general?
That is a great question. Because I grew up playing in the orchestra and stuff like that, and then somewhere around eighth grade, I started playing bass guitar. And at that time, I was listening to a pretty wide range of like Metallica, Limp Bizkit, and then a lot of like Blink-182 and that kind of stuff. So like it was a little all over the board, and I really have taken some from everybody. Because I mean, obviously bands like Metallica and those like classic bands that have stuck around for so long have done so for a reason, and their songwriting and their musicality is just so top shelf. It's really, really good. And then like one of the things that I was always drawn to with the pop punk bands, um, their music wasn't always as complicated, and their live shows were always a little sloppy. But like their live shows were just so much fun. There was so much energy, and like I don't know, it just even if you don't love the music, like it's a fun experience to go to those kind of concerts. So I really feel like I've drawn a lot from all of those.
Who would you want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Ooh, um, that is a great question. Um, you know, I think just kind of for the experience, like our last two albums, we've worked with a guy in our area named Jimmy Hill. He owns a studio called Amplified Wax, and he's kind of worked on the engineering production side of both of our last two albums, and we are so unbelievably happy with how they've turned out. But I think if we ever got a chance to work with somebody who's big, like Butch Vig or somebody like that, who's made some of the most iconic albums of the last 40 years, I think that would be a really cool experience.
When you're recording at home, Pro Tools or Reaper?
A little bit of both. So Scott actually does a lot of our like when we're doing pre-pro for the studio and just kind of mess around with ideas. Scott does a lot actually in GarageBand.
Okay.
That program, for being free, has come a long way in a short amount of time, but we typically use Pro Tools for the better programs.
Do you have any advice for anybody that's coming up now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I've seen both in our band and with other bands, um, people start playing music because it's fun, it's alluring, and like there's just a certain like romance to it. But like really, it's just you get together with your friends and you're having a great time, just doing something that you all enjoy. And then as things get more serious, like it starts transitioning into the music business and the music industry, and they like those terms are attached to that because it is a business. Like there's a lot of money that changes hands when it comes to music and stuff like that. And I think there is a real easy transition to not having fun and it being so business focused that like that becomes the sole like drive of a band. And like I said, like we've been there before. We've signed with some people because we're like, well, this is going to be our next step, and it was ended up being like a horrific mistake for us. It just wasn't a good fit because we were just so focused in on like the business side of things, and it really kind of made things stressful for a while. But once we kind of identified that and just started like, you know what, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, let's just make sure we're having a good time. And so we've really tried to take that to heart. And so I would implore any young band that's like really trying to make it to just never lose sight of why you started playing music in the first place.
When was the first time you were noticed for being in your band?
Oh man. I honestly don't know if it was the first time, but one of the most memorable times was our first tour when we were touring for Black Tie Affair. We were a little bit of a weird routing, but we were passing through Laramie, Wyoming. And at the time, we had a huge RV that had our name, like we'd vinyl wrapped it with our logo and everything. So it was
Okay.
pretty clear who we were. And when we got into Laramie, we were looking for somewhere to eat, and we ended up driving basically all the way across town, and just kind of took a detour like cross campus and just sightseeing a little bit. And this pickup truck followed us the entire way. And when we finally got to like Applebee's or whatever it was, um, these two high school kids like got out of their truck and came like running over and were like, I'm really sorry to bother you. Like we saw you guys getting off the highway. I love your music. And like it was really kind of cool. It was really sweet. They didn't have anything. They didn't have any money to buy CDs, and they didn't have anything for us to sign. And so they gave us like their football gloves because they were on their way to like one of their 2-a-day practices. So we, signed a bunch of
Okay.
stuff for them, gave them a couple CDs for free. And uh, yeah, it was pretty cool.
Any like bad fan moments?
Um, no, nothing too crazy. I mean, anytime you're playing smaller venues and bars and stuff like that, there's always going to be the occasional surly person who's either getting handsy or just kind of critical of the music. But I mean, we usually don't get too wrapped up into it, and so uh, usually kind of dissolves itself. I will say there was one the last tour we played. We were on our way home, and we were playing a show in Grand Junction with Saliva, and there was a girl who was very nice, but like was very intoxicated, and was like kind of hitting on the band one at a time, but not really. Like I don't know, like it was just being very nice. And then a little while later, we saw her getting drug out of the venue with somebody else, and then turned into like this huge like brawl on the sidewalk, and it was kind of wild because it was like, Jesus, like, does this happen all the time? And they're like, no, but yeah. And then like 20 minutes later, like she somehow got past security, got back in the bar, just standing there, her hair's just all over the place, and she's like, oh, Wednesdays, am I right? And like got a drink and left, and it was for sure Saturday. So I don't know. That was kind of a fun one.
Well, except for that, any crazy stories like on tour or on stage that happened?
There was so that same tour actually, we were in Indianapolis, um, playing a show, and it ended. We didn't realize this because none of us are NASCAR fans, but we come to find out it was the weekend of the Indianapolis 500, and so downtown was in a weird, kind of busy, kind of crazy mood, and so like as we're loading in our gear, there was a bar down the street that was having a big party, and it was whatever. And then about the time we were starting to play, uh, we came to find out that there was a fight that broke out of the bar that started spilling out in the street. So by the time we got off stage, there was like full on like riot cops in the street, and like there was just crowds everywhere, and it was getting pretty crazy and out of hand, like to the point where they were like, usually you guys should probably just stay inside. We're like, oh, okay. And so George and I ended up climbing up on top of the bus and watching some of the riot because we're like, well, if we can't go anywhere, might as well enjoy it. But it never got too out of hand, but it was not what I was expecting to find.
Okay, so you know that question you were asked as a kid. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Uh, it changed hands quite a bit. But honestly, like I have very young memories of fantasizing about playing music, and whether it was like playing with toy instruments and putting on concerts for my parents or whatever, or um, just listening to like the Beatles and that kind of stuff that my parents were into, and just really just daydream about what it would be like to get paid to play music and just travel around and do something that seems so fun. So I mean, that is always something that's been in the back of my mind. So to be able to do that at any level is pretty unreal.
So what is your happy dance song? Like when it's a good day and everything's going smoothly?
That is a good question. Um, I think in some respects it probably always changes a little bit, but I will say um, the the one that always makes me think of like
Buffering?
yeah, just sunroof open, just cruising down, having a good day. I always think of Weezer's Green album, pretty much any song, but probably Island of the Sun. I feel like that's one of those songs that you can't just like, all right.
I was more thinking maybe, like Ice Cube, what do you call it, Good Day, or, you know, like blasting that when it's, going back to the 90s real quick.
Yeah.
So if you weren't playing music at all, what would you be doing?
Um, well, I've like away from music, I've worked quite a bit in like restaurants and hospitality, and I don't know, I've always had a passion for food and for just I don't know customer service. I guess I enjoy being able to positively affect people's days, but I also really enjoy being around food, both eating and cooking. So probably do something in restaurants.
Okay, well, speaking of food, you're on death row. What's your last meal?
Whew. Um, that's a tough one because pizza, I would have to say, is like my favorite go-to. If I don't know what else to eat, I could always eat pizza. Uh, but if in that scenario, I'd probably go like a nice ribeye and some potatoes or something.
Ribeye and potatoes. Well, another fun question. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, I would. I don't know. I would have to say probably Brontosaurus for a few reasons. One, I'm
Okay.
dating myself here, but I was pretty young when the first Land Before Time came out, and that was a great movie. And then they made like seven more, and I'm not really sure
Yeah.
why that ever happened. But I just like the idea of a dinosaur that's like pretty chill, does its own thing, doesn't really bother anybody, but it's big enough that yeah, people probably are also aren't going to mess with it too much.
All right, fair enough. So what was your favorite movie at all times?
I would say I think the two movies that had the biggest impact on my youth, and you're probably going to think I'm kidding here, but the two movies I watched the most as a kid was Ghostbusters and Top Gun. Like I,
Okay.
that was one of my fantasy careers was to be like an elite pilot, like Top Gun guy. But I also just decided I didn't want to work that hard to try and achieve that. So
Okay. So with the Ghostbusters, were you a fan of the female version?
I got to be honest, I haven't watched it. And it's for no
Okay.
particular reason other than I just kind of been lazy. I have not sought it out. I mean, I like all of the people that are in the cast. I think they're all very funny. So, I mean, I can't imagine that it's that bad. I know they got a lot of flack for doing that, and I'm not really sure why. But yeah, never actually saw it.
So would you like to promote anything at this moment?
Yeah, for sure. If you haven't listened to Shaking Cages, I would go check it out. We're really proud of it. We got the music video that we talked about. And then also, yeah, just keep an eye out because this Tuesday, May 4th, we're going to be releasing Hunter Be Hunted. So 10 tracks with an intro. A couple of them we've released as singles as the build up to the release of the album, but should be seven new songs, I think. And just as a whole, we are very, very proud of this album. It just, I don't know, start to finish, I really, really enjoy it. And one of the things I like most about this album is that it is a little like genre wise, it's a little bit all over the board. So it has some of our heaviest songs that we've ever written and recorded, but then there's a song on here that's borderline country. So it's a little bit there's something for everyone, I guess. Yeah, we're really really proud of it. Coming out on Tuesday. Yeah, so people can go to silenttheory.com. They can buy merch from the store there. They can find our music videos, and then just easy links to all of our music online. We're pretty much everywhere. And then, yes, straight into the danger zone. But yeah, so we're on everywhere you can find music. So Spotify, iTunes, Apple, or Amazon, rather. So yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans at this moment?
Yeah, just thank you so much for the support. We genuinely would not be here without it. Like the fans make it so that we are able to keep writing, recording, and going on. Because now that we're a little bit older and there's kids in the band family and stuff like that, you know, we are very fortunate to be in a place where we can keep doing this. So we are very, very grateful.
All right, sir. I'm going to let you go, and I will let you know when all this stuff is posted.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I hope you have a great day.
You as well.
Have a good night.